What's up, everybody? It's Al High, host of The Casual Highlight, where we strive to educate, inform, and inspire while having a casual conversation about sports. So I wanted to get on here and talk about Deion Sanders. Officially, looks like he interviewed for the TCU job that was formerly occupied by Gary Patterson, who just was relieved of his duties a couple of weeks ago. And one of the candidates was Deion Sanders. And I just wanted to give you my take and thoughts on this. First of all, let me say this: Deion Sanders has done in a year, pretty much about a year and a half. He has impacted HBCU, the SWAC conference, has brought more attention than it has ever had since the SWAC conference in years. Probably the SWAC, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, probably hasn't had this much attention, in my opinion, since Eddie Robinson was at Grambling State. Because everybody knew about the SWAC, you knew about HBCU football. The first names that come to mind would be Eddie Robinson, Bayou Classic. Then you think about coach up at the legends at Jackson State coach, and I think the Florida A&M coach, a couple of other coaches, but the first one, a lot of people that I remember, most important that I grew up with, was Eddie Robinson, because he has, I think he's now officially third all time on football wins. I think he had over 408 wins, right under Bobby Bowden and Joe Paterno. Or might be second, because Paterno's record probably got washed away. Anyway, the SWAC has not got this much attention in a long time. The HBCU landscape of college football has not had this much attention in years. And for a Hall of Famer to go down here to go coach at an HBCU school was very significant, and how he's bringing big time players to these particular programs. I think it's just an excellent job. A Hall of Fame coach who wants to coach, who wants to change the game, is doing that. And I listened to this guy out of the gentleman from the lunch break, KYOK, with AJ Jones. You definitely want to check him out. He's on Facebook and YouTube, called The Lunch Break. And he brought up some significant points about Deion Sanders, and it made me. And I felt, at first I'm like, well, he's interviewing for the TCU job. I'm like, well, ain't it kind of early for him to leave and just roll out? But coaches do it all the time, because they desire to be big time college coaches. They don't want to stay at a certain situation forever. I think Jackson State is a great institution. Even though until they play Southern University in football, we cool until you play Southern. That's a whole different ball game. If you a Southern fan, your two rivals is Grambling and Southern. We cool with you for minimum. We minimally cool with you for just a moment. But then doggone it, when your players, we ain't that week, we ain't rocking with you that week. But from afar, I've been rooting for Jackson State. I've been rooting for Jackson State hard, man. This year, Deion Sanders' sons. It's great to see both his sons transfer in from South Carolina. The older boy, the younger boy, was committed to I think Florida State as he was a four-star, five-star quarterback, Shiloh Sanders, and decided to come play for his father. And so I think it's dope, man. And week in and week out, the excellence, the preparation that Deion puts in with this particular team, I think is excellent. However, this is TCU knocking. No knock to Jackson State. If he wants to build his portfolio and move forward, I think it's great for him to move forward. I think any man that wants to move forward to go to a higher level in competition, I think you should do that. I fully support Deion Sanders in that. I hate to see him leave Jackson State because of the great things he's done, not just for Jackson State, not just for the Southwestern Athletic Conference, but just for HBCUs in general, and has thrown out plenty of ideas for HBCUs to grow tremendously. And I think if he does leave, I will be saddened a little bit with his departure. However, I think it's now a blueprint for HBCUs to go to a different level. And now you got athletes who might want to decide to come down and come coach at these smaller schools. To come down, to take time out with these athletes, to bring awareness and attention to HBCUs. Overall, I think it'll be, if he does get the TCU job, people are like, well, why is he flirting with TCU? And some people are believing, well, he's not going to go. He's not going to go. Let me tell you something. Anytime somebody goes for an interview for a particular job, any job, man, it could be McDonald's, it could be Burger King, it could be the plant mill, it could be Apple and Microsoft. You have interest in working for that particular company. And for Deion to go interview for the TCU job, he has some interest in going to TCU and being the head coach at this institution in Fort Worth. And particularly, he played for the Cowboys. He has a home there. He's coached high school football there. He has strong ties. I think that's that rain. That's the rain in the background right now. And then you also got to look at it. Texas Tech just hired a coach who had big time ties to the state of Texas when it comes to high school. He's a big time high school coach. Deion has ties as well to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Think about bringing a Deion Sanders into a TCU program with recruiting Dallas-Fort Worth players, and putting a stamp on the TCU program. And because once if we look at the history, once TCU jumped from the WAC to the Mountain West in the Big 12 in football, they really have been mediocre. They really haven't done too much. And now Deion putting this stamp on it, it just goes to a different level. And then also in the Big 12, another thing that I realized in the Big 12 is that there hasn't been too many black coaches that have coached in the Big 12. The names that we can think of is Turner Gill, who coached at KU. There was a black coach at Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. I can't remember the names of these two particular gentlemen. One of them coached before Les Miles came there, and the other one was the coach before Bob Stoops arrived. I can't think of these gentlemen's names right now, but it really hasn't been too much of a representation. So it'll be dope for a black coach to take it to a different level. Oh, I forgot about Kevin Sumlin. I think he was Texas A&M, and they were in the Big 12 for 1 year, and then they were out of the Big 12. After that, they went to the SEC. So it really hasn't been too much as far as head coaches as well. But I think for the HBCU format, I want to get back on that, man. I just think now we got the exposure. Now it's time to take your recruiting to a different level. Now it's time to, look at what Deion has done. He's brought money. He's brought marketing. He's brought NIL, naming, image, likeness agreements. He's brought people to fund the team. He talked about people putting in their last name on the players' jerseys. He talked about even with one of the schools dealing with the athletic department and how they didn't have a athletic training. I think that was at Alcorn State. It was stuff with it was the athletic training people. They didn't have the resources for that. So it's really, he kind of brought some exposure, but he also talked about that the SWAC, the MEAC, it was some backwards stuff in it. He even brought the idea of bringing everybody to make it one big super conference, which I think is a pretty dope idea. Have like a 16-team SWAC and the MEAC merge. I don't know how the MEAC would feel about that, but hey, or a 16-20 team conference and do like a North or South and then have one big Celebration Bowl championship at the end of the year. I think that'll be a pretty good idea as well. So Deion has brought exposure and has brought ideas to the table for for us to think about. And so if he decides to leave and take the TCU job, I think we should give him a round of applause and the accomplishments that he's done, not just at Jackson State, but at the schools around the Jackson State area, the Southern, up, Grambling, the Alabama A&Ms of the world, the Bethune-Cookman. Everybody has had to upgrade their game. You look at Tennessee State. Tennessee State went out and hired Eddie George. That was a huge hire. Former NFL great who played in the league for years, coming back to an HBCU. So it's all about exposure. It's all about upgrading your systems. And in time between the COVID season that he coached and one regular season, he has done well. And if these other coaches like a Mel Tucker, who can leave Colorado after 1 year and then go to Michigan State for 2 years, and then I got a feeling will be the head coach at LSU. I got a strong feeling about Mel Tucker, man. He one of them ones that's going to be on the radar. That will go to LSU. Or shoot, might be Deion. What if Deion was down there in Baton Rouge at LSU? I don't know if he take it or not. They're a little different in Baton Rouge. Nothing wrong with it. It's all good. I lived in Baton Rouge for 10 years. Great food, good people. But that'd be crazy. Prime time in Death Valley. Coach Prime in Death Valley. Boy, that's something else. But if Mel Tucker can do it, if Lane Kiffin can move around and do this type of stuff, we got all kind of coaches doing it, moving around all the time. And basketball coaches can move around. It might be some backlash at first about, man, why are he leaving? But at the end of the day, man, he wanted to do what was best for him. Deion wanted to do what's best for him and his family, most importantly. And how can he impact the lives that he has around him? And that's one thing about influence and impact. And I tell these people the power of influence and what you do with your platform at that particular juncture. If it's for 1 year, how have you influenced and impacted the community around you? And Deion, we got to go ahead and give him his flowers now, because he has impacted and influenced not just Jackson State, not just the state of Mississippi, but the whole entire black college football, Division I, Division II, and probably the NCAA with what he has done for the players. So go ahead, leave me your thoughts about this Deion Sanders going to TCU. Do you think he's going? Do you think he's staying? Do you want him to stay? Do you support him leaving? Go ahead, leave me your comments in the chat below, and I would love to read the chat, and I will respond to it. This is Al High. Remember, God is love, and disrespect your senses.